Vomiting Rainbows, episode number 3.
And in this episode, I think we do something very neat. We learn a little bit about Mike's tattoos. So Mike tells us a bit about one tattoo. Then we go into a fun-loving story about Pam Hupp and her lover.
And the incredible web that was spun on this crime. And it's a caper of a lifetime, really. A lot of thought went into this.
A lot of thought went into it. And then we go into something with a lot less thought, which is the Hunter Reesler story.
Yeah. And I share some heartwarming stories about my grandma.
Yep. And then we get deep. It's almost a psychiatry visit.
Yeah, we did kind of cross over. It did seem like a therapy session.
Yeah, it did go into that direction for a bit.
Yeah.
And then we end it with Zachary Penton.
That's right, man. It's We Vomit Rainbows.
Vomiting Rainbows. We're going to learn it at one point.
Vomiting Rainbows, episode 3. Here you go. All right, we're rolling.
We're rolling.
Doug is back from New York City.
New York City. That's like the Pace Picantes.
It's either Pace or it's a chili. I can't remember. It's an older reference. I think our older podcast listeners will go, "Oh, I remember that commercial from back in the day."
Where's that salsa from?
Yeah.
New York City.
It is Pace. I think chili because it's a bunch of cowboys sitting around a fire, and I always imagine if I was a cowboy, I'd be eating chili around a fire, not salsa.
Not dip in salsa.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing quite as manly as a bunch of cowboys sitting around going, "Can you pass the Fritos?"
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. So
how was the Big Apple, man? What were you doing?
I was just chilling.
Yeah.
Nothing super exciting. Just having a bunch of fun.
Now, do you have like your go-to spots when you go to New York City? My brother lived there for several years, and I used to do these weekend getaways. JetBlue, you could fly to New York into JFK for like $80,
right?
And I would go there probably twice a month. I mean, I go there a lot. But we always did the same thing. We always went to like McSorley's during the day,
right?
And drank like the light or the dark beer, and then we just went and like it was still kind of it wasn't as nice as it is now. Every 6 months, every major city in America, it's cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. So we would just try to go to like the dirtiest places,
right?
And we just kind of go to the same places over and over again. So I basically had the same weekend
over
30 times.
It was Groundhog Day for you.
Pretty much,
every single time you went back to New York.
Exactly.
Oh wait, now it's winter.
Yeah, wait, it's snowing out, but I'm still at McSorley's, huh? Whatever.
It's just a different ambiance outside of McSorley's bar.
Yeah, pretty much. That was it.
All right, cool.
That was it.
Yeah, no, the whole thing that I do when I go there, obviously, I'm in the bar business.
Yeah.
So I like to see what are the cool, hip, new spots.
I remember this is like in the 90s, early 90s. Alphabet City, does that still exist?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it was pretty dicey back then, but it was the first time that I ever experienced like a pop-up bar. And I remember when Mad Cow Disease was like new.
Yeah.
No, and there was a bar called the Mad Cow, and so what the bars did is that anytime there was kind of like a new like a Mad Cow thing or like a Flocka thing, like it would be called Flocka, and they'd change the name of the bar, and
right?
The theme of it, probably like every 6 months,
right?
And I was like, this is kind of cool, and that's the only thing I would notice different when I go to New York. I'd be like, wait, this was the Mad Cow. What is it now?
It's called Flocka.
Yeah, I know, but it's the same people, the same place, so
right?
It didn't matter.
No, I completely agree. There are a lot of very seasonal bars because New York is so transient. Yeah, that it's something that you will see in New York as well. I mean, Miami as well.
Yeah,
a bar will just reinvigorate the name or the brand or a different brand just to get tourists to go to a space that they think is new.
Yeah,
but it's really the place. They're McSorley's from last time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they do that all the time.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a cool idea, but it's to me it kind of goes counter of what you would expect from a bar. Like people like to go to the established places, the places that have been there for a long time because there's history there and there's kind of like a credibility there and there's things that place becomes known for.
Right. What was McSorley's known for?
It just being like I think it's one of the oldest bars in America, right?
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I know that it only serves 2 beers, light and dark, and that there's like no stools or anything at the bar. And the reason for that is that back in the day, like in the 1800s, 1700s even, you basically drank till you fell down. If you couldn't stand up, they wouldn't. You had to leave. And then what else is there? I mean, and there's all this crazy like They have like an original newspaper on the wall from when like Lincoln got assassinated. There's like
And-
tons of history in that bar.
And it has the address, McSurley's.
Yeah, exactly. But it has like it's a pretty neat place. If you're ever in New York City, I recommend it. It's definitely it's probably not like a cool place to go, but a lot of history and they serve only 2 beers, so
Not a lot of options, but
not a lot of options.
But the best options.
Yeah, but the bar is like original. It's like falling apart, but it's like a historic place. It's pretty cool.
It makes me think a little bit of like CBGB.
Yeah. I've been to CBGB when it was there.
That was one that I had gone to as well.
Yeah, and then it closed,
and now I don't know. It's like a Starbucks or something like that.
Now I think it's just like a T-shirt shop.
I heard it's something like that. That was one of the items on my list that I wanted to do. I just didn't get around to it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go take a picture outside and like pointing it at the sign, CBGB.
I have one
and
of
it's
those.
like nothing now. All right, so I want to kick this off with a new section of our show.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to say is getting to know Mike's tattoos.
Oh man.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And the reason that I think this is so poignant, and I may be remembering this wrong because you and I have known each other for
long time.
Long time. But we were at a party when you lived in over by that touristy area.
Oh yeah, down near the wharf.
Yeah, right by the wharf.
Technically, it was North Beach, but yeah, it was basically
It
Fisherman's
was the wharf. I mean, if it was North Beach, it was on the.
It was on the edge,
on the very edge, literally the street before the wharf.
And a lot of people diss the wharf in San Francisco. It was a great place to live, and the reason I loved it so much is because I always felt like I was on vacation because so many people from other countries and stuff. That's where they go. You know what I mean? And so, when you go hang out there and hang out at the kind of the places that were around, like you meet people from Germany, you meet people from Japan, you meet people from everywhere but San Francisco.
Right.
And so it was just always cool.
You were tired of the people from San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. All they're going to do is complain about parking and, the Giants losing. I'm tired of hearing about that. I want to hear about people that are stoked to be here. And
you had your best friends at the T-shirt shop downstairs.
That's right. Yeah, that was a good time, man. That was definitely a lot of fun. So go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right. So you have the tattoo. Well, first of all, the story that I was saying is while you were when we were at that party in North Beach, I had asked you once what inspired you to get all your tattoos.
Yeah.
And you had told me that your high school sweetheart, who you eventually married, was the one that really kind of drove you to get the tattoos.
I don't know about that. I mean, I actually had some tattoos before we kind of seriously got together.
Okay.
I've just always been a fan of body art. I've always been a fan of tattoos. I think it's kind of one of those things where, like, when I was a kid, probably growing up 13, 14, maybe even a little bit younger, like you'd see people with tattoos and you'd be like, oh, that's so cool. Like someday I'm going to get a tattoo. And I kind of think you're either drawn to them or you're not. I don't think that changes, I guess, over time. But I have a lot of tattoos now, and I think that I'm definitely more of a tattoo collector than like your average guy who gets maybe 1 or 2 tattoos. If I had the time and the money, I'd be covered in tattoos.
Well, you're going to have to keep getting them as we keep going in the podcast. Because if we run out of tattoos, the segment has to keep going.
There you go. Yeah. Why do you get this tattoo? Because we have to keep talking about tattoos.
Doug said I should get a Choco Cat.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
So the tattoo that that I'd like you to explain today is one that says 100 on it. And at the bottom, it has a date of 3/1/05.
Yep. It actually says on the top banner, says 100 nails.
Oh, 100 nails.
Yeah.
Oh, now I know exactly.
Yep.
I missed the nails.
There you go. And then that's actually the birthday of my first kid.
Oh, wow.
And so, and the reason why the 100 nails is it's kind of a long story, Doug. So, sit down, make yourself comfortable, pour yourself a cocktail.
I'm gonna have a Coke Zero Cherry.
There you go. I love cherry Coke. Oh man. So anyway, my kid was born on March 1st, and as a new parent, you're like, we literally brought the kid home. My wife sat him down, in this like little kind of kid carrier,
right?
And the words out of her mouth right when we got home were, "Okay, now what do we do?" Because as many baby classes as you take, and as much as you think you're prepared to be a parent, when you bring home another human being, There's nothing more frightening
Oh,
in the entire world. It's like, oh my God, like this is a person.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of friends talk about when they're given their child and they are told, you can leave the hospital now.
Yeah.
They kind of look quizzically at them saying,
Are you sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Are we?
Yeah.
Why? How can you let us leave with a human being out of this location?
And you knew me, Doug, obviously in 2005. You probably known me for at least over a decade at that point. I mean, at 2005, I was a little crazier than I am now. I thought maybe a police officer would come with us and kind of like
escort you, show you what to do.
Yeah. And so anyway, you get your kid in your house and. You're adjusting to having a child, and it's a big adjustment. But one of the things that's really interesting about babies, especially newborn babies, is that there's something almost intuitive with how they communicate, and really it's through different types of crying, And it sounds really strange if you're not a parent, but if you are, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like there's like this intuitive tone that you just know, like, oh, the kid's hungry, or the kid's irritated, or the kid needs to be held. And even though they can't talk, they kind of communicate through the different cries. Well, the 14th day that we had the baby, the child at home, and he was colicky, so that means they cry all the time.
Right.
Well, so the baby's crying all the time, he's not really sleeping, just crying. Well, on the 14th day, Doug, this kid was making this sound of just distress. I mean, like beyond distress, like an animal in pain. Like just like if you've ever heard just like a howling of a hurt animal, or like just in your gut, you knew like something is not right with this kid. And so we go in and we had like a changing table, and I'm looking and there was blood coming out of it's like belly button, like it's umbilical cord.
Oh, right.
And like that is bad.
Right.
Like and I'm like, dude, if this thing comes undone, like intestines are, they're not supposed to be bleeding out of that,
No.
So I'm like, we got to go to the emergency room. Like this is crazy. I'd rather be safe.
Of course. And that seems like a pretty urgent situation to go to an emergency room. It's not like
it was like a ton of blood, but still, like it was bad.
I'm just picturing blood just spewing all over the walls. And
no, I mean it was just you could just tell something wasn't right. And I would say is some parental advice, like when in doubt, get it checked out, man.
Yeah. That's a good slogan.
That's right. That goes for a lot of different things.
Like the rashes that you get.
Yeah, exactly. Not just parenting, but I don't know. Is that normal? How long have I been wearing my underwear? Is that rash? Should that be there? But anyway, we take it to the emergency room, and obviously we're really concerned, and the doctor takes this X-ray of my child's stomach, and she's like, oh my God. And we're like, what is it? Because maybe the intestines didn't form right. Like it could be a million things that aren't good. That maybe the baby needs to go into surgery. So the doctor's like, see this open space, and there's a huge, small stomach, but like 80% of it's just kind of like this vacant space. And and I'm like, that's where like all the intestines and stuff are supposed to be. And she's like, that's all air.
Oh, wow.
And all the child's organs are getting kind of pushed, Ooh. And I was like, oh my God. And so this is kind of a quick conversation. So the baby, the doctor takes my kid, puts the rest of the baby like on her forearm, takes a Q-tip, sticks the Q-tip in his ass, and with that, the loudest fart I've ever heard in my life. It was just super. I won't imitate it, but it was just imagine the loudest fart and then multiply it by 100. And like shit flew out. Like it was crazy. And I was like, oh my God, I kind of sprayed all over the place. And I was like, oh my God. And immediately after that, the baby just falls asleep. Like just complete relief, just out. And I'm like, and it happened so fast. This is all a matter of like maybe 15 seconds.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, like, whoa, like this is crazy. And the doctor looks at me and hands me like a whole set of Q-tips and is like, you're going to need these in case it happens again. And then hands me the baby. And like, that was the first time I was like, oh my God, like I'm a parent. Like it's the first time I ever felt like a dad.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to stick Q-tips in my kid's butt. Like this is just something that parents got to do.
Yeah, that's definitely love.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And I'm going to have to get like farted on and pooped on and everything. And I was like, well, this is intense. And then the doctor looked at me and was like, she goes, have you ever got like a little bit of gas like in your rib and like it kind of curls over and if you ever had like gas in your stomach and stuff, it's really painful. It can be debilitating.
Right.
And she goes, imagine that She goes, but like 100 times worse. She's like, it'd be like if your kid ate 100 nails and had that pain in the stomach, and so for whatever reason, probably because I was covered in poop and the room smelled like a fart and I was holding my newborn baby.
I should remember this forever.
I was like 100 nails. Like I got to remember that. And what I basically did was what I realized was that, here's my kid dealing with pain that would cripple any adult person, right? And the takeaway from that was that, he's 14 days old and he handled that. And what I realized was that at that moment, naturally, just as people, like straight out the day one, we're capable of dealing with a lot more than we think we can. Like if you asked me to eat 100 nails right now, I'd be like, I couldn't handle it. But the fact is I could, because just naturally the way that we come into the world, we're designed to deal with more than we think we can. And so I thought that would be a good reminder, especially when it comes not just only to living life, but just especially to parenting, like parenting this kid as he gets older and becomes an adult, to know that I'm capable of more than I think I am. Like I can be more patient than I think I can. I can be a better dad. You know what I mean? I can be a better person than I think I am. And I can deal with more stress than I think I can, just because naturally I saw it. I mean, I saw a 14-day-old, baby deal with more physical pain than most adults could ever imagine handling.
That's a truly beautiful story. And also your production company as well is called 100 Nails.
That's right. Yeah. So I named my company about that. And, because, just kind of as a reminder to, of endurance, it encompasses a lot of things.
That's really cool.
So, Doug, did I tell you that tattoo story before?
Never.
Never?
Never before.
There you go, man.
So this is informative for me.
You picked a good tattoo. That's probably the best one I have a story for, though.
Well, I'm sure the other ones have some pretty good ones, but we'll get to those as we go along with the podcast.
There you go.
But so that's a great start to getting to know Mike's tattoos.
There you go, man.
And there should be like a little, like a theme song of some sort. Yeah. And again, I think that one should probably be with the xylophone.
There you go. Well, yeah, I like how you're starting to hear sound effects and theme songs. That's good. That's a good sign, Doug.
Yeah, they could just be rolling around in my head. But so I wanted to kind of frame this whole podcast around things that were just not hitting the news.
Yeah.
So we've heard of a lot of the big things that have gone on. Like today, there was American University in Afghanistan that was attacked by, they think, ISIS soldiers. And there's been a bunch of other things as well, such as a guy who stabbed two people in a complex from Virginia. And apparently he made a statement right before that alluded to the fact that he might be sympathetic to terrorists. But this story that we're going to start with is so convoluted. It's just very, very bizarre. So have you ever heard of Pam Hupp?
Pam Hupp. I can't say that I've heard of Pam Hupp.
Okay, so Pam Hupp is a good friend of this woman named Betsy Faria. I don't know if you've heard of her either. So
what should I know about Betsy and Pam?
So Betsy was murdered. Betsy's her Pam thought that it was Betsy's husband who did the crime.
Hold on. I need to make a mental diagram. So Betsy and Pam are friends.
Right.
Okay. Betsy gets murdered.
Correct.
And Pam thinks it's Betsy's husband.
Correct.
Okay. See, I got my strings and my tacks going on the
all right.
board.
So now if that's on your vision board.
Yes, exactly.
So, and this all happens in Missouri.
Okay.
Pam Hupp just got arrested for murder. She was arrested for murder, and what the local police say is a very convoluted plot to frame Betsy's husband.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So what they're saying, I thought you were going to do the zinger that Pam Hupp killed Betsy's husband in like a revenge murder.
Right.
That's where I thought the story was going. But what you're saying is that Pam Hupp looks like killed her friend Betsy and tried to frame her husband.
No.
No.
So
Dun, dun, dun. Wait, there's another twist?
there's another twist. So this woman, Pam, says an intruder came into her house. And she had to shoot the intruder until the gun just started clicking. So she shot him completely dead. And she was trying to get away from this this person assaulting her in her house.
This intruder. Now, did the intruder actually like hit her and like attack her, or did she just break in the house and she just unloaded on him?
Well, she says that the intruder was in a silver car, came up to her with a knife.
Okay.
And she somehow got away.
Yeah.
And when she got away, she ran right to her front door and tried to shut it and lock it. But the intruder aggressively came through the door somehow.
Yes.
And then chased her. She went upstairs because she knew that the intruder was coming through the door.
Yeah.
So she ran upstairs, went into her bedroom, got her gun.
Yeah.
And then when he came into the bedroom, she shot him dead.
Okay. I mean, that sounds like self-defense to me.
Right.
Right. I mean, that sounds like something I could see happening. And you know, I think that kind of course of action would most people would do. I mean, if some guy's attacking you with a knife near your car and you can get inside your house to get away, you try to do that, and then the dude knocks down your door and you happen to have a firearm at home. I mean, you know.
This all seems kind of plausible.
Yes.
So there's this other aspect as well, which you have to realize when Betsy passed or was deceased or killed, murdered, her family did not inherit the money. Pam inherited the money.
How does
because
that work?
Pam said that Betsy was afraid of Russ, her husband.
Okay.
And Pam and Betsy had become quite close.
Got it.
And
was it like intimate close or just friendly close?
Well, that came out a little bit later.
Oh, I'm jumping ahead. Look at me, man. I should be a detective.
Yeah, you should be a detective. She actually turned out to be a lover of Pam, and Betsy turned out to be lovers.
Now, was Betsy's husband involved in this at all?
No.
No. Okay.
And so that also adds a whole nother dynamic to this love triangle, but also Betsy wrote a note that was found later that said, supposedly from Betsy's handwriting, that said that Betsy was afraid Russ was going to hurt her.
Okay. So what we have here, we have Pam and Betsy are friends / lovers. Betsy gets murdered. Pam thinks it's the husband.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if it is the husband. On a side tangent, Pam is getting attacked with a knife, ends up shooting some dude dead in her house. Okay, so we got a lot. We got
there are a lot does in the air at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies laying around.
It's
Is this on HBO? Is this show on HBO?
It does sound a little bit like Making a Murderer.
Huh.
So she somehow, I guess that while they were together, Russ's mother passed away, and left, or no, maybe not Russ's mother.
Okay.
One of their parents passed away.
Got it.
And left them a fortune.
Got it.
And that fortune now went to Pam. So
Russ has to be like, yo, what's up with that?
Well, Russ is now indicted for murder because they followed that path that the note said, which was Betsy said that Russ was guilty. Basically, that she was afraid of Russ.
Now, did Russ hire this crazy dude that Pam shot dead in her house? Is that where we're going with this?
So that's the next thing.
Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Dude,
do I win a prize? I'm like an oracle.
You're stepping so far ahead.
Hold on. And I have not even, I have not reading this story or anything.
Just to be clear, I take all of these stories and I don't even tell Mike what I'm going to present to him and then kind of try and elicit responses.
Yeah.
But these responses are very knowing.
I haven't been this exciting since I got one of those things out of like a stuffed animal out of one of those claw machines.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is awesome.
And that's a good feeling of joy.
It is.
Because it's almost impossible.
It is.
So she inherited this money, and the intruder who came to her house, who drove that silver car over with the knife, came into the house. She had heard as he got out of the car, "I want Russ's money," i.e., give me all the money that you got that was inherited.
Yeah.
Almost alluding that she was going to have to go to an ATM with him or somehow withdraw this money.
This is in Missouri. They don't realize you can't withdraw a fortune.
Right.
There's limits on how much you can withdraw from an ATM.
Like
it's
$500 to $800 a day. But
no, okay, listen, bitch. Meet me here tomorrow, 24 hours from now, so I can get another $800.
Right.
Or else.
It was going to be a long, long time. But so that's what she had heard when she ran into the house. The other thing that went along with this is, so she's running into the house. She's afraid of all of this stuff. By the way, Russ has been acquitted. He spent 2 years in jail, but was acquitted because they found no foundations for him committing the murder.
Yeah.
So at this point, Betsy's murder is unsolved.
Yeah.
And still remains unsolved.
Man.
And that's why
they need to get me on this case. Look how I'm figuring all this stuff out.
Yeah, you've got this all dialed down. I think you need like a monocle and some sort of Sherlock Holmes hat.
I need like the guys in Missouri to call me up. I'll solve this case.
You've got this done.
I'm ready to go. So Russ is free at this point.
Yeah, okay. He's free.
And he spent 2 years in jail, which he's got to have a little chip on his shoulder.
He's probably upset. Yeah. So you can kind of see how this might look like he is coming to get revenge.
Yeah.
One small problem. The guy his name is Gumpenberger, who came to accost her
Pam's house.
Yeah, with a knife.
Shot. Yeah. Gumpenberger? Is that his real name?
Yes. Gumpenberger is a mentally handicapped person.
Oh, my God.
Who is described as gullible and extremely nice. Also, another little side note is he can't drive. His mom has to take him everywhere.
Wait a minute. His mom drove him to attack Pam? That's crazy. Is that what they're saying?
No.
Okay.
There are some
maybe it was
inconsistencies
yeah.
in the story. The other thing is, right before this incident had occurred, a woman not far from Pam's house said that she was picked up by someone saying they were from Dateline doing stories on emergency 911 calls, and they wanted her to come with this random woman was wanted to come with the Dateline reporter. And
is this true?
Yes.
Oh my God, this is so random.
It's so random. With that, she apparently got into the vehicle with the Dateline reporter.
Yeah.
Was promised $1,000. And as they were driving down the street, the woman said, I'm not going to go any further unless you give me credentials showing you're from Dateline.
Yeah.
The reporter could not provide those credentials.
Yeah.
But she reported that incident to the police because it was so unnerving to her.
Yeah, and I mean, that almost sounds like whoever was in the car saying, like, he was the Dateline guy, he was speaking in slang.
It was a she.
It was a she? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Wow. That almost sounds like there was like a different, like maybe they were she was trying to solicit like a prostitute. It was like, hey, I'm on Dateline. I'll give you $1,000. To make sure they're not undercover. You know what I mean? Like,
it was so suspicious sounding that she felt obligated to report it to the police.
Yeah, that sounds way suspicious, man. Number one, I know there's a lot of ride sharing services now. There's the Ubers, the Lyfts. People will get in anyone's car, not thinking about it twice. But it's a little suspect when someone's like, "Hi, I'm filming Dateline. We get in my car. We're doing a story in 911.
Emergency 911.
I'll give you $1,000." You know, what are they gonna drive her out to the desert and be like, "You've been abducted. Call 911. We want to film it." Like, you know, that's pretty sketchy.
It definitely, obviously, made the hair on the woman's neck stand up because she went immediately back, called the police, reported the incident.
Yeah,
and it just so happens the woman has a security camera on the front of her house and showed the video of that incident occurring.
Yeah.
And guess whose car it was?
Peg's?
Pam.
I mean, Pam?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's do it
who's
dramatically.
Peg?
Yeah, exactly. Ask me that again so it'll give you more dramatic.
Peg Bundy.
No, whose car was it? Let's do that again. Come on.
Oh, are we going to do it again?
Yeah.
Hey, dude, guess whose car it was?
It was Pam's.
Oh, my God. You're so omniscient.
This is why I could never, like actually be a detective. If I start messing up names, I'd be like, it was Peggy's car. Like, who's Peggy? Like,
and then the person's confused, and they're like,
yeah, it's Barbara's sister. Who's Betsy? What?
What? You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, her husband Ron.
I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, her husband Ron. I mean Rush. Wait, what's his name?
I want a lawyer.
Totally.
So it turns out that this was a very, very convoluted story that Pam created. She shot a mentally handicapped person to apparently frame Russ.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
So she got this guy to basically hey, come to my house, shot him.
Mm-hmm.
And so why did she need the Dateline chick?
Oh, that's confusing.
Yeah.
We're not in any of this. They can't really put together where she was going.
You know what? Maybe she was just trying to do this elaborate cover up, and it just got so elaborate that she got confused. And she's like, I need to have someone else needs to be involved in this. I need some type of other story. Some other wacky tangent for this total wacky plan I have.
Yeah,
you know?
I was trying to figure out if maybe she was going to set the woman on the street and then
be a witness or something,
and then tell the other guy that he had to play a part.
Yeah, you're going to attack me, so she'd be a witness or something, so she would call 911 and say, I saw some lady getting attacked.
Right. I
mean, I think about this poor guy that got shot. What was his name? Gumpenberger?
Gumpenberger, yeah.
I mean, think about Gumpenberger. This guy's mentally challenged. He probably thinks who knows what Pam told him. She's probably like, you're going to be a TV star. We're doing this reality show. You know how they reenact things on Dateline? You're going to do this. You just need to come in and attack me. And this lady's going to call 911. And then he gets oh man, he gets gunned
and then he
down.
gets killed in the house.
Yeah.
And then he can't refute what she told him.
Yeah, because...
then the woman would say she just happened to be there, but it still seems like she would say, hey, I was with a Dateline reporter.
This same lady picked me... The same lady that just shot that guy picked me up and said she's with Dateline and is doing...
Right. It's just the level... I encourage anyone who's coming up with a lie, just keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it real simple.
You don't need Dateline involved.
Yeah, this is way complex.
She took it to an nth degree with that.
It didn't need to go there. Now, so this is all known now. So Pam is now guilty of kind of masterminding this.
Of framing and murdering Gumpenberger.
Okay.
But the other thing that seems really, really suspicious is now if you look back on it, she could be a woman scorned and could have maybe with Betsy, somehow they got in a fight.
She could kill Betsy.
And her will had just been changed several days before.
That's suspect.
It's very suspect.
Very suspect.
It seems to shine a light back on this whole thing, which is what Russell, his attorneys are saying, that the police completely dropped the ball. A sixth grader could have done a better job investigating this than...
He spent 2 years in jail. And now he's like, look, dude, I told you, this wacko lady, Pam, the bad planner...
Right.
She did this, and now look what she planned poorly, and now she's... So Pam is definitely guilty of shooting Gumpenberger. They have to investigate her for killing her friend Betsy now, right?
Yeah.
Listen, if anyone in Missouri is listening, this is investigator Mike. You need to reopen this case.
You've got this, and your services are available for hire.
Yeah.
You just find them at 100 Nails Productions.
Yeah, I work cheap, man.
So they found on Gumpenberger's body a Ziploc bag with $900 and instructions on how to get Russ's money back. So it seems he apparently, I thought this was a lot of money, but it was like $10,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait a second, dude.
Yeah.
You're telling me that the fortune that all these guys are fighting over is $10,000?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be kidding me.
It was a life insurance payout.
$10,000?
Mm-hmm.
The guy spent.
Yeah.
Listen, man. I mean, I'm not saying $10,000 isn't a lot of money. I mean, it is, but not to do something like that. I have this diagram. I mean, this looks like something out of.
You would think it was to get like diamonds and $1 billion fortune or.
The diagram I have written right now on this piece of paper looks like the caper of a lifetime. I mean, there's lines everywhere. There's circles. If I'm gonna have to write this much, it better be at least for $1 million.
At least $1 million.
At least $1 million. $10,000. Jesus.
So when she's captured, she goes to jail, and she immediately somehow got a hold of a ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
And tried to slit her wrists with the
that's
ballpoint
not a good
pen.
sign. Yeah.
So they feel.
That's not good. If someone's charging you a murder, trying to kill yourself does not look good.
Yeah. And literally they have no idea. They're still trying to sort together the Dateline thing. But while they were trying to sort that out, they've traced her phone.
Yeah.
And guess where she went slightly before this whole thing occurred? Since you're such a great detective.
Oof, where'd she go?
Where did she go?
This occurred. She drove by Russ's house.
She did not drive by Russ's house. Well, you're still on a path.
She drove by Gumpenberger's house.
Exactly.
Yes.
So she drove by Gumpenberger's apartment complex, and they followed that by the location information in her cell phone.
Yeah.
So they are pretty sure they put this all together now.
Isn't that like the number one thing? Like, if you're going to commit any crime, and I'm not talking like a murder or some kind of wacky plan like this, but pretty much any crime, like, you shouldn't have a cell phone. Like, if you're going to be a criminal, you can't have a cell phone. You can't have any technology. You have to basically, like, live out in the woods.
Yeah.
And then just kind of appear, do your crimes, and then, like, disappear back into the woods.
Yeah. I mean, this was one that is just befuddling on how complex, unneededly, and you have to remember, she's already gotten away with the crime.
Yeah.
There's no reason to bring a spotlight back on her.
That's what I mean.
So why would she do this now unless she had some sort of information, or Russ, after 2 years in jail, was like, you guys need to check out that woman. She was the one who did it.
Well, I've read a lot of true crime books in my day, Doug, and I think what happens with people that like commit mass murder or multiple murders is that they get away with one, and they start thinking like that they're above the law, that they're smarter, that they're smarter than the law, that the law can't catch them, that they're with it, they're beyond law's reach,
right?
And they believe it. Like, they start believing, like, oh, I did it once, I can do it again. It was easy. Like, maybe she just got so lucky killing Betsy, and it was so easy. She had like no plan. And it just happened, and she never got caught. So now she's like, "Well, I did it without any plan. Now I'm going to make a plan."
Right. And I'll be the smarter one now.
Yeah, and she put too much effort into it. Where really it was just dumb luck that she got away with Betsy's murder. Then she's like, "I can do this. This is easy. But this time I'll have a plan. I'll even get away even better." She's like trying to outdo herself.
Right. And to mention as well, she was with a woman who was terminally ill. Betsy, she had cancer and was not expected to survive.
Oh.
So why would someone try and kill someone who was terminally ill unless they were going to probably change their will back to the way it was before and leave
give the money to Russ
or the kids, her kids.
Yeah, or the kids.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man, this is like, we'll never. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever know the motives, but I mean, hopefully, Pam gets brought to justice, right? I mean,
well, I have confidence that the people of the Heavy are going to kind of keep updating the story.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It's just something that has so many twists and turns. Plus, Betsy's ironically, Betsy's whole story was covered on Dateline.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It's so weird. So I can see Dateline loving this because they're going to go back.
Oh,
and
yeah.
obviously
They're going to deal. Now, so Betsy's
it'll be a 2-part one.
Original murder, Betsy's was covered on Dateline, and they were probably throwing shade at Russ, and Russ is in jail. And maybe that's why Pam saw that episode of Dateline and was like, I need to get Dateline involved on here because it will validate the story. Maybe
absolutely.
Or maybe the other thing too is like a lot of these people that do things like this, they're so wacky that maybe she just was jealous. Like she's like, wait, I killed Betsy and I'm not on Dateline. Like I want to be on TV.
Right.
Like I want my own Dateline special for, like Russ is getting all the credit for the murder I committed.
Perhaps.
I mean, she could be that wacky.
People do weirder things, but it just seems so asinine that she went this direction.
Yeah, it is. It's complex. It's confusing. $10,000, man. I mean,
well, I did see at the bottom that the whole insurance payout was $150,000.
Okay,
but
well, I don't know. I mean, obviously.
But apparently, Russ was only trying to get $10,000, which seems like pretty reasonable. Like, just give Russ the $10K.
Yeah, I mean, he was important to Betsy at one point, right? Oh, man,
right.
This is crazy. Whew.
So now we'll step into something with a little bit more clear cause.
Yeah.
Which is this 14-year-old named Hunter Riley Reesler.
What did Hunter do?
Well, Hunter, you have. I'm assuming he lives with his grandmother.
That always sounds like that's like the introduction to something going bad.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think this is going to go bad? You don't think that this is? I'm going to tell you a story about how he took his grandmother to a water park and they had a great day.
I don't know, Doug. Judging from the stories you pick.
Yeah. So and to be fair, there's so many stories that have happened this week. I'm kind of cherry picking.
Yeah.
There's just a plethora of events that happened this week that were just shocking. But this one, especially after that convoluted of a plot, this one you're gonna really, really be kind of shaking your head at. So Hunter had to go to school at around 7:30 in the morning. His grandmother feared that he was going to be late, but also she was going to meet him there for a parent conference.
Sure.
And he, I guess, didn't want to go to the conference. And so the likely thing that you would do immediately is maybe take a rifle, go out on your porch, and when grandma pulls up, shoot her.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
He shot her from 10 yards away.
Where is this at?
This was in Pennsylvania. It's called Harbor Creek.
God, man.
Yeah. So he shot her through the windshield of her car as she pulled up to pick him up. He had a .22, and they basically, the whole reason that he did this is because he didn't want to go to that conference.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He's
14 years old. Okay, so he's 14.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is he? I mean, that seems a little extreme, Doug.
It does seem extreme, but they won't say exactly what the conference was about. So it's quite possible that the conference was about.
Obviously, he has some behavioral issues at school. Maybe he's a violent kid at school. Maybe he's, man. I mean, this story like always freaks me out when a kid that young, is that dark and can be that evil. Like, it's just, I think about like teachers and stuff and people that try to discipline kids like that. And I mean,
right.
This guy shot his grandma that he lived with that provided for him. Right? I mean, like, think about what this guy would do just to a teacher or a fellow classmate, right?
But if you or I didn't want to go at 14, didn't want to go to school, we would probably not wait at home for our grandmother or our mom to pick us up. We'd probably just go play hooky and go to a friend's house or say, I was at school, you didn't see me, or something.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, I don't know, maybe it's part of our, like, pop culture that option doesn't exist, like running away from home. Like, you don't like school, you don't like your living situation. back in the day, you would run away.
You ran away.
Yeah, you would go live with your friends, or you would run away to another town.
Right.
Even at 14, like that was a thing you could do.
Right. And if you did it significantly enough and were brought back by the police or something of that nature, the guidance counselor usually pulled you in and said, what's going on at home? Like, what's the environment? But
is there any like previous kind of incident? Like, is there any kind of signs that this kid was like this? Or is this another one of those like, oh, he was a nice kid? And...
Again, this happened yesterday morning.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of information on this yet. He did call his grandfather. He called his grandfather and said that that he had heard something outside and his grandmother was wounded in some way.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he probably didn't think he was going to hit his grandmother.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Maybe he was just trying to shoot at the car, scare her away, call the grandfather.
I'm not going. Like, you want to like shoot out the window or something.
Still,
that is pretty insane.
Yes.
You know, someone needs to, you know, like I don't know, the whole thing with the rifle thing. It's like, you know, you got to keep your guns locked up. There's got to be proper training.
Right.
You know, like a gun isn't something you kind of play with to scare somebody. I mean, it can kill people.
Right. Well, this goes back to what we talked about last week with the San Jose shooter. Like, what is he trying to do? And is he just? It could be a bunch of kids just trying to shoot out tires on cars.
Yeah, and they're just like, oh, a bullet travels how far? Like, what happens? Like,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like, we're just trying to have fun or something twisted of that nature. Ugh. So the other thing that he probably didn't realize is in Pennsylvania, they have a very distinct law that says no matter if any crime results in a death with a juvenile, they are always charged as an adult.
Yeah,
there is no way to change that.
Do you think kids are aware of that now? You know what I mean? Like I think when I was growing up, there was like, oh man, like I'm still a minor, I can still kind of goof off a little bit as long as it's not too serious. And don't they seal my record when I'm 17 or something like that? There was a little bit of awareness of that, but I don't think this kid was like, I'm gonna go shoot at my grandma, and if I kill her, I'm only 14, like whatever. It's like, dude, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, number one, you know, I obviously when I hear someone shooting their grandma, I think of my grandmother, who I was very fond of. I love very much. Both of my grandmas, you know.
Right.
I mean, I know all grandmas aren't like my grandma. Maybe this grandma was horrible, but she sounded like she was trying to do the right thing. Get him to school, get him to the counseling meeting. Like, you know, like for most grandmas that are horrible and don't care wouldn't even put that kind of effort into being around for a kid like that.
She literally went to work that morning at 5 a.m., worked until like 7, then came back to get him. So she was not some sort of grandmother, at least it appears, that had any ill will, or she was going to a conference for his well-being, more than likely.
Yeah.
So I tend to agree with you.
Was she like one of these like 35-year-old grandmas? Is that, or
she was 60? So
yeah, that's pretty young.
Yeah. But much like you, my grandmother, my biggest complaint was that she tried to fatten me up.
That was your biggest complaint?
Yeah, I was a beanpole, and she would always bring tons and tons of food.
Yeah.
And constantly ply me with food to try and get me a little bulkier.
I remember, you know, the thing that,
but it was great
that's
food.
Your biggest complaint? I mean, my biggest complaint was that like my grandma had like a mustache kind of, like, like she kissed me, like her lips would be all dry and she kind of smelled funny. Like it was like, I loved her and I wish I could kiss her right now. But I mean, she kind of smelled and like, she definitely had like really kind of dry lips and like a mustache. And it was just kind of like, geez, man, like bad breath.
No,
you know,
my grandmothers were both. I had 2 growing up.
How old were they though? My grandmas were like in their 80s, dude. They were old. Like I think at some point, grandmas like past 85, like their breath just always smells. Like it's just always decaying or something. Like something's going on there. Like it's just the way it is. Like it doesn't matter how many times they brush.
They've decided it doesn't really matter if they need to brush or floss.
Well, no, I mean she wasn't like a dirty lady. I'm sure she brushed her teeth every day, but
she just stopped waxing her upper lip.
Something like that. Like, biologically, I think something happens to the human mouth like past 80 something.
Right.
Like it just it's just kind of has a distinct odor. You know,
right.
I'm not even saying it smells bad. You know, it's just I can remember it. It's like a sweet, fleshy smell.
Oh my God!
And I remember the feeling of her mustache.
I love that this is totally degraded into this trauma of your grandmother's mustache and the scratchiness of her woman beard.
Do you want to hear one of the worst things I've ever done?
Oh, I
in my
definitely
life?
do.
I mean, and it has to do with my grandma. This is probably. I don't even know if I can. I've definitely come to grips with it, and I framed it in a point where I can kind of like live with myself, obviously. But when I was maybe a freshman, how old are you when you're a freshman? Like 14, right? 13, 14 years old?
Yeah,
as old as Hunter.
Yeah, probably about that right.
So I was probably 13 years old, and my grandma came to visit, and she stayed in the room across from me that had its own bathroom. And she was old, dude. She was like 87. She was old, like upper 80s, and real frail. You know, I love her so much, but like she was old. She probably weighed 100 pounds, real frail. And she was visiting, and I remember in the middle of the night, one night, I heard a big like a big thud,
right?
And I was like, oh my God! And it woke me up. It was so loud. And then I heard like, help.
I am paralyzed on where this is going.
And it was like, and then it just kind of died off.
Right.
And I was like laying there and I was listening. Dude, I was listening and it was so quiet. And I was like, I was 13 years old. It's in the middle of the night. And I'm like, oh my God, my grandma just died.
Oh.
And I was like, I was afraid to get up and go find her body. And
right.
I didn't want to wake everyone up. Like, it was just kind of like, I was like, and I remember sitting there going like, if she just died, my parents will find her in the morning, and they'll kind of deal with it.
You were too scared.
I might have been too tired too, but
right.
I think I like to think that it wasn't because I was lazy. It was just because I was just.
It sounds a bit like you were lazy.
I was scared. I was
scared and lazy.
I was scared to go see my grandma die, and I was
right.
just like, you know what? I'm going back to bed.
Right.
So I went back to bed, and I wake up in the morning, and my parents are gone, and my grandma's gone, and
okay.
I'm like, oh. They must have taken her, like, I don't know, called the ambulance while I was
right.
sleeping, and
she's gone. Peace, Gramps.
So my parents come back, and they're like, oh my God, we just got back from the hospital. Like, Grandma fell and like broke both her hips and her legs, like broke a bunch of bones.
Oh no!
And like. And I can't imagine the pain she was in. She must have fainted and
right.
she must have laid there all night long, just like coming in and out of consciousness. Just
but didn't your parents were home? Didn't they hear it?
No, we lived in a huge house.
Okay.
So like there was like a kid's wing and like a parents' wing.
How come I haven't been invited to this baller house?
This was way back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And I felt so guilty. I told my mom. I said, Mom, I heard her fall last night. She's like, why didn't you go and see if she needed help? And I told her, I said, I thought she was dead.
I thought it was over.
I thought she was dead, and I didn't want to find the dead body. And and my mom's like, oh man, like they were a little disappointed in me, but they were at least they acted like they understood me.
Right.
But the worst was when my grandma came back from the hospital. She was all like, all like casted up and stuff, and I never told her.
Oh no!
And that
I don't think you can face that.
I couldn't. Man.
That would be tough. That would be like, I knew you were hurting, and I went back to sleep.
Yeah, and she lived for like several more years, and every time I see her, I just be like, oh, dude.
Oh. Like, she's rolling around the house in a wheelchair.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is that?
I think that's not that bad.
It's understandable, right?
I think I'm going to go with understandable, but yeah, that's tough.
It's like a 7, right?
Yeah, it's a 7.
Like average,
it's definitely not wanting to go to school.
Yeah.
And then killing grandma.
But like for years, I was like, what does that say about me? You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I think this is something bigger for like therapy.
What does that say about me? It's horrible.
All right. Well, on that wonderful note. Oh God.
It's horrible.
Yeah, we'll give you a pass on that one.
I've given myself a pass, man.
Yeah,
You gotta forgive yourself.
I think you can give at this point you can forgive yourself. She's gone. You remember her fondly, her bad breath and her little beard.
Yeah.
You know what?
Mustache, no beard.
No beard, just a mustache.
Yeah.
So I think this is where you decide to commemorate your love for your grandmother with a big back tattoo.
Of a bathtub,
with grandma.
I know. Think about like falling into a bathtub.
And then you just put like a little thing over the top and like a little card. Yeah.
Ugh.
And that way, when your son asks about it, you should say, always help your grandparents.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lesson to be learned there. When your grandma's calling for help and they'll like get up and see what's going on.
So on that note, we're going to jump to another wonderful person that had an incident last week.
Yeah.
And his name is Zachary Penton.
Zachary Penton.
I don't know if you've heard about him, but again, I'm kind of shocked that none of these have really hit the mainstream media.
Yeah, this is kind of like underground stories that haven't broken through. There's
Yeah,
a lot going on in the world, though.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, but all of these seem like they would make the mainstream media.
Yeah,
or at least in some way that we would have heard it at some point. This is a 21-year-old kid from Arizona, and he tweeted if apparently he was having a problem with his roommates, and his roommate, he said, if I need to move out of my place before I viciously murder my roommates.
he tweeted this out.
He tweeted that out.
Okay, and I think if you lived with roommates, everyone's felt that way.
Right.
You just don't tweet that out.
Right. And if you're thinking it, and you may think you might act on it.
Yeah, you need to go for a walk. Or move out, get some other roommates. I mean, things are that bad where you that's the thing about roommates is you can get new ones or you can go find another place to live. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like, no matter where you're at in your life, if you're in a bad situation, you as an individual actually have the power to change your situation. I mean, you could do it. You just have to, maybe save up some deposit money. Like,
right.
You don't need to, act out your deepest, darkest thoughts. You don't need to do that.
Or maybe tweet, does any of my friends have a place where I could stay because my roommate is not tolerable?
Exactly. Like, can I sleep on your couch for a week? Or, even if things get really bad, man, if you have a car, like, go sleep in your car for a couple of days. Get away from everything. Go camping. Get a tent. Sleep on the ground. There's a million things you can do to escape.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
But think of your most intolerable roommate. And I've only had a handful of roommates, and they were all pretty great people. So I didn't.
I was the.
You were the intolerable roommate.
Definitely.
You were the one. You were the one putting your head through the door.
Yeah, I was definitely the problem in the roommate
situation. Daddy's home.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah. There's no doubt. All
Might
my
go to
roommates
bed.
were cool. I was definitely the guy that was like, I'm not going to sleep. I don't care.
So he apparently said that his roommate had been acting irrational and threatened to kill him if he didn't move out.
Mm.
So he obviously had felt a lot of animosity before this.
Yeah.
And that's this guy, Daniel Garofalo. Probably no relation to Janine, but Zachary said that he had been acting irrational, spoke about black holes and alternate universes, which scared Zachary.
Wait a minute, dude, because he's talking about science?
Yeah. Apparently, I think
black holes, physics.
Yeah, unless he's saying he's going to put you in a black hole or an alternate universe.
He's always talking about these things like the laws of gravity and science. He had a chemistry book. He's talking about elements and stuff.
It just so happens that Garofalo was in physics.
Yeah, he's like, dude.
And he probably just overheard him on the phone. He's like, yeah, I can't figure out this whole black hole algorithm for tomorrow's class.
Meanwhile, Zach's like, hey, he was talking about quarks.
He's talking about witchcraft.
Yeah.
And so therefore he said he was scared, and that's why he shot the homeowner, i.e. he was living with this person whose house it was. That's why he was told he was going to have to move.
So Daniel is the guy who got shot.
Daniel Garofalo is the one who got shot.
And he's the dude who owns the home, and he rents a room out to Zach.
Right.
And just because Daniel likes to talk about science, and there's some animosity there, and, Zach's like, you're freaking me out talking about this science. Daniel's like, listen, I think you need to move. And then, therefore, Zach shoots Daniel.
Correct.
This is the thing you have to realize if you're a roommate in someone's house that they own. It's like you're in their domain.
Right.
You're in their world. Like, you're renting out a room.
Right.
When you go outside that room, whatever they do in their life is going to be out there, right?
Exactly.
Do people not understand this, Doug? Do people not, get this? Clearly not. Zach doesn't. Zach doesn't understand that, when Zach moves into a room, the entire house doesn't belong to him. Zach doesn't understand that everything that Daniel's into doesn't disappear.
Right. Well, and the other thing is, after this incident, Zach apparently pulled down the tweet of the vicious murder of my roommates. So he obviously knew it's a now deleted tweet, but even on Heavy, they have a screenshot of the tweet.
Don't people realize too by now that like your tweet, like deleting something doesn't mean anything anymore?
No.
Emails,
Snapchat
tweets,
proved that.
Yeah, like nothing can be deleted. When you press send or post or whatever, it is out there forever.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's rumors that Snapchat has all of your snaps all throughout history.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll be able to sort through your historical snaps.
Yeah.
And pay for the ones that you want back to put in your own historical archive.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always thought Facebook would end up being like an actual book that you would get. I was that kind of dumb. Like, I'm like, oh, it'd be like you could order your Facebook.
Oh, you can do that already.
Oh, you can do that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so you'd have like a book where you'd be like, oh yeah, man, like this is I don't know. The chronological social media that trail, that digital trail that we all are creating and will leave behind. I mean, I don't know, man. Like I have mixed feelings about it, Doug. Not that I feel like I do anything wrong or that I'm ashamed of, but it's just I don't know. I still come from those ancient times, those pre-digital times where it's like, kind of my business is my business and what I do is what I do. I don't need to necessarily broadcast every single thing out there, Maybe they'll have like a Snapchat channel, you know what I mean, where you just turn on TV and watch everybody's like dirty Snapchats. Or
right.
Something. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, that's Instagram stories, but it's basically the same thing. And I think the other aspect of this, so imagine he comes home, apparently Garofalo attacked him, and they wrestled around. He pushed off Garofalo, ran into his room, and Garofalo tried to attack him again, where then he grabbed his gun from underneath his pillow, where you keep your Glock, and then shot him. He was shot in the head. So I think it definitely doesn't sound.
Well, this is the thing, and whether you realize it or not, if Airbnb, whatever you do, if you rent a room out to somebody before you actually get someone living in your house that you don't really know,
right?
You need to put security cameras up. They got to film everything, dude. You got to have like those nanny cams. It's just the world we live in now. Like it's just the way it is.
But still, say this, even with cameras or things of that ilk. What could this guy have done to prevent that? I mean, he's got a 21-year-old. It doesn't sound like he had any sort of indicators in his past that he would do this.
You're talking about Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I guess my thing is so this kind of comes back to the whole thing of self-defense. Like, did Daniel knock a tooth out? Was Daniel coming at him with a hatchet? You know what I mean? Like. If you had some video footage of that, you could see that, right? Because at this point, when Daniel's got a bullet in his head, Zach can say anything he wants. The guy was attacking me; it was self-defense, And I think at least according to the CSI episodes I've seen, they could see if there was defense wounds or if he actually was attacked. But I really think that if you're going to have roommates, if you're going to have that kind of stuff, you got to have the electric eye in the sky.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of surveillance by any chance, but the world's just too crazy now. I mean, it's insane. You got to have cameras, in every hallway, in every bedroom, in every shower, and you got to make your own, website and stream that stuff live. Daniel's house.
Daniel's.
Put it in the lease. You sign here, you consent to that.
So I'm going to read you a couple of tweets that this guy sent out. And this goes back to the fact we talked about earlier. If you have a roommate, you should be following their tweets.
Yeah.
You need to. So Zach put on there, holy shit, buying a gun is so easy. Then he wrote, I need 2 boxes of 9mm rounds stat. Anyone want to go shoot today? My friends would rather go raiding on World of Warcraft than shooting with me. And then he says, anyone want to go shoot today? Some pedestrian in Tempe straight up looked like he was going to jump me at a red light on my bike. I need a gun.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. Number one, clearly he's a gun enthusiast. The thing is that, without the proper training with firearms, right, this is one of the biggest problems, right? A guy gets a gun, and all of a sudden, instead of trying to resolve situations like normal people, he's going to pull out his gun. And that's like, what people don't understand is that, even if you use a firearm for self-defense, if you shoot and kill somebody, even if you're justified, the chances are you're going to lose everything you have.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, it's not, I think there's I think a lot of people that there's a misconception that, you could just shoot anyone for any reason because, quote unquote, you're defending yourself. That's not the case at all. And if you do, even if you have you're completely justified in shooting that person, okay, because they were attacking you and it was 100% in self-defense, that doesn't mean that you're not going to lose your house, lose your property, lose everything.
Yeah.
It just means that you're going to be alive, which is fine.
Right.
But I think a lot of times when like this guy's saying, like, someone's looking at him, bad, and all of a sudden he's like, I need to get a gun. Well, what, you're going to shoot a guy because he's looking like he's going to do something? Like, it doesn't work that way.
And so he also responded to a tweet, and this person named Worm Cookie Lover, sounds aggressive.
I can relate to him.
Yeah. And he says, crazy lady that got out of her car started yelling at me and my friend, "You fucking punks." And he responded, "Thank you," and started laughing.
That's the way you handle a situation like that.
Guess what Zach responded?
I would have popped her ass.
So Zach sent a picture with him holding a USMC K-bar knife in his car.
Yeah.
And said, "I keep my K-bar close for situations like this."
Yeah.
So he was going to apparently stab the crazy lady?
Well, this is what Zach needs to know is that, when a crazy lady yells at you and calls you a punk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you pull out a K-bar knife, you're escalating the situation, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to say that people don't have the right to defend themselves. I think that if people need to defend themselves, it's a ever increasingly more violent world. But you have to understand that, if a guy looks at you bad and you pull out your gun and point it at him, he may have a gun, right? You know what I mean? Like you're escalating situations. Like as far as my opinion goes, as far as the use of force, I mean, using lethal weapons is kind of a last priority, and you need to be damn sure that your life is being threatened. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, "Oh, that lady called me a bitch, so I stabbed her." Like, that doesn't work. You're
someone had also tweeted something alluding to a murder, and Zach had tweeted before this, "Murder's never the answer."
Oh, so there you go.
So he's kind of all over the place.
Well, how old is Zach?
He's 21.
21? Yeah, man. I don't know. You'd like to think by 21 you figured some of the basic things out in life, but I don't know. I mean, it's a different world we live in now, Doug. Right? I mean, it's a different world. People look at things differently.
Yeah. And then there were all these tweets kind of after that were just really bad about Zach and his roommate. So if you want some entertaining,
you know what Zach needed? Zach needed a girlfriend.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a room of his own. He just needed something to do with it other than play with his K-bar and his Glock. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he apparently tweeted on his social media after this. I guess he wasn't learning his lesson at all, but he tweeted a picture of his cell, and he said, "This is my room now. I have no roommate."
What?
Yes.
His jail cell?
Yeah.
Wait, how did he get his phone in his...
I have no idea.
Is that for real?
I assume so.
Well, he finally got what he wants, a place of his own.
Yeah, and
he'll get a roommate, trust me, and his roommate won't be as cool as Daniel was.
That's a lot of the responses that people sent out.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. So I think that's the lesson that we're taking away from this is definitely be aware of who is living in your home.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea to follow them on social media.
Right.
You know, because at least you could just confront, hey, bro, can we have a talk? I'll make you some spaghetti.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry, things are going awry.
Yeah.
Please don't viciously murder me.
Yeah, man. Like, do you really mean this, man? Because, like, I know I asked you to, to unclog the toilet when you clog it, but
Right.
I'm just trying to,
Right.
like Dana could have explained, like, that's what adults do. You're 21 years old. Like, someday, Daniel, you're going to have your own house. Or, I'm sorry, Zach, you're going to have your own house.
Right.
And you might rent rooms out, and you're going to want them to unclog the toilet when they clog it. So I'm just trying to teach you how to kind of, like, live as an adult. Like, he could have kind of tried to have, like, a bonding conversation, right?
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know, man. It's, I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's some of the stories that I had for you today. I don't know if you want to dive into this last topic, but Lochte.
Lochte?
Yes.
Lochte?
Lochte.
Lochte?
Ryan Lochte.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I'd just love to hear your thoughts on. Okay, so
number one, the guy's like 32 years old. This is the guy that trashed the bathroom sign and said, I got robbed and, this and that.
Gun held to my head. I viciously fought off these guys and saved my other swimmers. And
yeah, and then it turned out like, he basically, they had to take a leak after going out and partying in Rio.
Kicked a sign.
Yeah, bathroom was locked. He broke a sign.
Security held him there.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that from what I heard is that he basically called his mom or like posted to his mom, like, I got robbed.
Right.
And then she went crazy with it. I mean, what happened is this guy's 32 years old. He's probably lived a pretty sheltered Olympic life.
Right.
Probably can do pretty much whatever he wants to do. There's probably no repercussions. He was the ugly American. Going to a foreign country, having to pee in a bathroom that I guess it was locked or something. Probably ended up going in a bush and then was upset or just was drunk and kicked a sign and broke a sign. And, I guess there were some undercover prison guards or something, like whoever they were like, hey, dude, come back here, man. You got to pay for the sign.
Right. And they made him sit and wait.
They made him sit and wait. And, I guess, there's a gray area because it's not like they took him to court or arrested him. They said, hey, dude, give us all your money.
Yeah.
So is that robbery? I don't know. I think that's just like how law works in other countries. I mean, and probably in a lot of cities in America. I mean, what would you rather do? Give a guy all the money in your wallet or go to a jail in Rio for destroying property? It's like, it's just kind of the way it goes. If you have street smarts, that's a cop giving you a break and you give him the money and you leave.
Well, no, what they basically did is they held the store owner. The guy said, give me this much. And it was like $100 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we'll call it even.
Yeah.
And it would have gone
And that's
away.
what they did, right?
Yeah.
And then he left.
Yeah. Nothing more would have come to this.
Yeah.
Instead, it's costing him millions of dollars in endorsements. He looks like a fool. I mean, he didn't look that great beforehand.
Sure. I mean,
and I think we've done this a couple of times on the last two episodes, but we end on like a reality TV show note. And I don't know if you know this, but he had a TV series.
I heard about it. Yeah.
What would Ryan Lochte do?
Yeah.
And,
I mean, and this is the thing. Like, from his perspective, he probably felt like he did get robbed, and from his perspective, he probably felt scared getting a gun pointed at his head. But the reality of it is when you're in a foreign country and you do something goofy, like there's going to be repercussions, and that's the repercussion of the situation. Like, you didn't get shot, you didn't get thrown in jail. You should be thankful.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that it's like cool that the cops or the prison guards or whoever those people were held him. It didn't have to be a member of the police. It could have just been a citizen saying, "Hey, dude, fix that sign. Give us your money." I mean,
right.
Whatever, And if it cost $50 to fix the sign, and those guys each pocketed $100, okay, that's kind of the way it goes, dude. You're being a jerk in a different country, and you're representing the United States of America in the Olympics. You shouldn't be out partying and peeing in bushes. I mean, you should be focused on your game,
or at least wait till you come back to the U.S. or something. Something.
Yeah.
You'd think he would know significantly better than to do that.
Yeah,
and definitely not try and make it look like he was a hero in that situation.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that I've done plenty of stupid things while kind of intoxicated, and those things happen, right? But I think that the problem with him is that he just kind of, he took an incident and kind of just blew it into this like international event, and it's just like, dude, you were wasted with your bros. You broke a sign, and because I heard people arguing, well, how badly was the sign broken? Like, it doesn't matter.
None of this matters. The only thing that matters is that he lied. He completely made up that incident and tried to make himself look like a hero. And then after that, if you heard him on the Today Show, he kept saying, "Well, I was drunk."
Yeah,
and then he embellished again like a day later, and he was like, "Well, I was really drunk." And then
get that.
3 days 3 days later, but I mean, he embellished it continually after that.
Yeah,
and after he embellished the third time, 3 days later, you're not drunk anymore. You can't say that you were still drunk. And
I do have to say that
he might have talked him into the store, himself into the store.
I've heard stories of people like being so wasted that they kind of like don't really recall, and they kind of they remembered a certain way, and so they just kind of believe that's what happened,
right?
But yeah, I mean, the guy, it's embarrassing, but I don't know. It's at the same time, this is what's interesting is that story made so much news,
right?
You know what I mean, like that was just like that was. Everyone knows about this story.
Yeah.
And
no one knows about these other three things that we talked about.
Exactly.
Not anything about them.
Not a mention.
Yeah. It's crazy. Exciting episode, I think.
That was a lot, man.
That was a lot.
A lot of content.
I feel a little like we've deflated some people with our rainbow vomit.
That's right, man. It was a good time. Make sure you follow us on social media. We'll follow you back. Do we do that? Follow for follow?
I'm sure we'll do something of that nature. And then also, we're now, after the last episode, we're on iTunes.
Yes.
We're in the iTunes podcast list. And please rate us, because that's the only way that we'll get more exposure. We're also in the Google Play Store, and we're on Stitcher.
Awesome.
So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so we're all over. And then, of course, you can always listen to us on WeVomitRainbows.com.
That's the official website.
Oh, sorry. It's
Vomiting Rainbows.
Vomiting Rainbows.
We need to make a one sheet.
We need a one pager. So
what's the website?
The website is vomitingrainbows.com.
Okay.
And then our Instagram and Twitter are We Vomit Rainbows.
Cool. Thanks for listening.